welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into, well, one of the biggest economic shifts happening right now. The huge, relentless growth of the cloud computing market.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about, storing your photos online.
Yeah, exactly. We're digging into what sources are calling the hyperscaler wave. It's like this tidal wave of money and computing power, and it seems like AI is really driving the whole thing.
Absolutely. And the numbers, they really tell the story. Public cloud revenue, it's projected to hit somewhere between $1.6 trillion and maybe even $3.4 trillion by 2040.
Zillion. Wow.
Yeah. But what's really crucial for you to grasp is why it's growing so aggressively. It's not just businesses moving online anymore. It's these accelerating technologies, think sophisticated AI models, huge IoT networks, the whole 5G rollout. All that stuff just demands more and more compute power.
Okay, that potential market size is just staggering. But, it's not like it's spread out evenly. It's super concentrated, right? When we say hyperscalers, we're really talking about the big three names.
That's right. Amazon Web Services, so AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform, GCP. Those three. They basically control something like 2/3 of the entire global public cloud market. It's their infrastructure, their core services, the network almost everything digital runs on now.
Right. But our mission today isn't just to stare up at the giants, is it? We're trying to figure out where the real leverage is. We're unpacking the, let's say, genuine investment opportunity inside this massive cloud world and showing why the sources seem to agree that the big wins are often found with the partners, not just the big infrastructure guys themselves.
Yeah, we're diving into what we call the multiplier effect.
Okay, let's start right there then. Section 1. Why do these absolute behemoth companies with basically endless resources need this huge army, like over 500,000 partners around the world? It feels a bit backward.
It's this fundamental paradox, isn't it, of the cloud age. We know, over 95% of enterprises have some kind of cloud presence now. It's just how business operates. But it's like they've all joined the gym, but they don't have the personal trainers or, know how to use the fancy equipment. Most lack the deep technical skills inside their own teams. They just don't have the capacity to properly build, deploy, and manage these environments, especially as they get more and more complex with things like AI.
Ah, okay. So the hyperscalers are brilliant at laying these multi-trillion-dollar digital pipes. But they need like an outsourced crew, the specialists, the plumbers and electricians, to go into every single building, install the taps, make sure the lights work.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's that last mile delivery. And because they need it, they rely on this absolutely colossal global ecosystem. Over 500,000 partners, software vendors, specialist consultants, resellers, integrators, you name it. They're basically the outsourced sales team and the highly specialized delivery arm for the giants. It allows for scale and innovation at a speed the big three just couldn't manage on their own.
Got it. And this is where the money angle gets really interesting for investors, right? This reliance creates a huge financial multiplier. What do the sources say about how much partners actually capture?
Okay, this number is really key. For every single dollar an end customer spends on that core recurring cloud stuff, the basic fee to AWS or Azure, the partners in the ecosystem capture way more. They pull in an extra $2 to $5 in high-margin project-based professional services. Think implementation, customization. Plus, they get another $0.40 in recurring revenue from managed services or reselling software.
Hold on, let me make sure I heard that right. So if I spend, say, $100 on my basic Azure bill, the partners involved in setting it up and managing it could be making up to, $500 on top of that for my projects? Plus recurring fees?
Exactly. The hyperscalers build their huge valuations on that sticky, recurring infrastructure revenue. But the partners, they're positioned perfectly to grab the big, chunky profits from all the work around that infrastructure. That kind of multiplication, that's what really gets investors excited. You see that leverage.
Yeah, no kidding. It definitely shows where the cash is flowing strongest. Okay, let's look at some specific examples. Independent software vendors, ISVs. Their success is really tied to the cloud, right? Like Salesforce.
Oh, Salesforce is a classic. They basically invented cloud-based CRM, didn't they? Showed everyone you could run critical business apps off-site. And look how they keep expanding, buying Slack, integrating things. They use that cloud base to just keep adding value, keep growing.
And then there's Adobe. They were the king of desktop software. That must have been a massive shift for them.
Adobe's move to the cloud, yeah, that's like a textbook case study in agility. They took their super profitable Creative Suite, turned it into a subscription cloud-delivered model, huge success. And now they're doing it again with generative AI, like their Firefly stuff, making sure they stay essential by plugging into all that hyperscaler compute power.
Okay, and what about Snowflake? They seem built specifically to deal with the mess created by everyone rushing to the cloud, all that data.
That's exactly right. Companies moved to the cloud and suddenly realized, uh-oh, our old data systems can't handle this. The volume, the variety, the speed. Snowflake came along with this really smart cloud-native approach, helping companies store, move, process massive amounts of data really fast. They're basically capitalizing on the data explosion caused by the cloud.
We shouldn't just focus on the giants, though. What about smaller players? You mentioned DigitalOcean earlier.
Yeah, DigitalOcean is a great example of finding a niche. While AWS and Azure chase those huge enterprise deals, DigitalOcean says, hey, what about all the small businesses, the startups? They deliberately target that massive, often overlooked market, offer a solid, affordable range of cloud services. It proves you can build a really good, profitable business without competing head-on with the absolute biggest players. Focus matters.
Right, and that point about partners being necessary brings us neatly to Section 2. How do the big guys actually manage this? How do they get their own salespeople and those 500,000 partners all pushing in the same direction? That's where this co-selling idea comes in.
Co-selling, yeah, it's the glue that holds a lot of this together. It's basically a formal teamwork strategy for sales. The hyperscaler, like Microsoft, and a partner, say a cybersecurity firm, team up. They go to the customer together with a combined solution. It looks better, feels safer for the customer.
And there's actual data on this making a difference. It's not just like a nice idea.
Oh, no, it's very real. There's a Canalys study, for example, looking at the AWS marketplace. It found partners who co-sell through there see 65% higher close rates, and their revenue grows 51% faster on average. When investors see numbers like that, they know it's a reliable way to boost sales, much less risky.
Okay, now this is where it gets kind of complicated, but really interesting. The customer commitments. These acronyms like MACC, PPA, EA.
Yeah.
Explain these, because they seem to be the hidden engine making this whole system work.
Right, so MACC is minimum annual cloud commitment. PPA might be a private pricing agreement. EA, an enterprise agreement. Different names, same idea. Big companies negotiate these huge multi-year spending targets directly with AWS, Azure, or Google. In return for promising to spend, say, tens or hundreds of millions, they get really big discounts on the standard cloud prices.
And how big are these commitments overall?
Get this across just those big three. The total amount customers had committed to spend but hadn't spent yet reached nearly $360 billion by the end of Q1 2024.
$360 billion.
Billion, yeah. So you can imagine there's massive pressure on these companies to actually spend that money down.
Okay, so if I'm a big bank and I promised Azure I'd spend $50 million over 3 years to get, I don't know, a 30% discount, if I don't spend it, I lose the discount, which costs me way more. How do the partners help me solve that problem?
This is the clever part of co-selling in the marketplaces. Customers can use purchases of third-party software from the marketplace, maybe that partner's security tool or a Snowflake license, whatever they need. They use those purchases to burn down their big commitment to Azure or AWS, so they're spending their committed dollars on essential software they needed anyway. It helps them hit their target, keep their discount. Everyone's happy.
And the Azure salesperson, they're happy to push the partner's software because
they get credit for it. The system is designed for alignment. When a hyperscaler salesperson successfully co-sells a partner's solution via the marketplace, it counts towards their own sales quota. So for a partner, getting something like Azure IP co-sell eligibility is gold. It means the Azure rep is actively motivated to bring your product into their deals because it helps them make their bonus.
Okay, moving to Section 3 then. This whole setup, the growth, the multiplier, the co-selling, it sounds like a magnet for private capital, especially for those consulting and integration partners. Why are investors so keen on this space?
It's seen as a really smart arbitrage play, you know? Investors get exposure to these massive, unavoidable trends like AI adoption, but they often get it at much better valuations than buying shares in the big tech vendors themselves. And the money is pouring in. Private investment in European IT services, it's up like 23 times since 2010, hit $16 billion this year alone.
And I guess with 500,000 partners, the market must be incredibly fragmented, ripe for M&A. Lots of deals happening.
Oh, absolutely. It's consolidation city. It's hugely fragmented, which is perfect for private equity firms. They love doing roll-ups, buying several smaller specialized partners and combining them into a bigger, stronger player. Plus, there are clear ways out for the investors later. They can take the consolidated company public, or more often sell it to one of the giant global systems integrators who wants to quickly buy expertise in, say, Azure AI or GCP data migration.
So if you're an investor looking for the next winner in this partner ecosystem, what should you be looking for? McKinsey analyzed this, right? What's the blueprint for a successful partner?
Yeah, they boiled it down to 4 key things. First, they need specialist offerings. You can't just be a generic IT shop anymore. You need deep focus, AI implementation, cloud security, modernizing specific legacy apps, that kind of thing. Second is strategic agility. The market changes fast. Winners can pivot quickly, maybe use smart acquisitions to bolt on new skills instead of trying to build everything themselves.
And I bet how they work with the hyperscaler is crucial too. It's not just about being good at tech.
Exactly. That's the third point. Symbiotic relationships. It means being really deeply integrated with the hyperscaler's own teams. The best partners actually mirror the hyperscaler's structure internally. They align their sales roles, their delivery roles, so everyone's speaking the same language, chasing the same goals. It has to be seamless. And finally, an efficient go-to-market. They can't just wait for AWS or Azure to send them leads. They need their own strong sales engine, often by focusing laser-tight on specific industries like finance or healthcare or energy. Vertical focus works.
Okay, that gives a really clear view of the software and services side, the sort of digital layer. But if AI and the cloud are growing this fast, that has to be putting insane pressure on the physical world, right? The actual hardware.
Let's pivot to section 4, the physical reality check.
This is absolutely where the digital dream hits the laws of physics. These new AI foundation models, think GPT-5 and beyond, they need a totally different scale of computing power. We're talking specialized server racks that are incredibly power dense, often pulling 50, even 100 kilowatts per cabinet.
Wow. And just for context, how does that 100 kilowatt compare to, say, a few years ago?
It's easily 10 times the power draw of a standard rack from maybe 5 years back. And all that power creates immense heat. You need really advanced cooling, like liquid cooling flowing directly over chips or even immersing entire servers in coolant fluid just to stop them from overheating. So the old way hyperscalers grew, it's hitting a wall.
They used to just build their own enormous data center campuses, right? Why isn't that working anymore? It's a perfect storm, really. Time, land, and power. Building a huge new campus takes, 24 to 36 months? That's way too slow for how fast AI demand is exploding right now. And critically, in the places they want to build, the big tier 1 markets, there just isn't enough power available quickly or enough suitable land. So they're shifting strategy. They're moving to an asset-light model. Instead of building, they're leasing massive amounts of space from specialized data center companies.
And that must be creating chaos in the leasing market, a huge bidding war.
An absolutely unprecedented one. Hyperscalers are signing deals to pre-lease entire campuses, sometimes 200, 300, even 500 megawatts worth of capacity years before they're even built. This feeding frenzy has caused serious shortages in key hubs. Think Northern Virginia, especially Ashburn, the heart of the internet. They're seeing power allocation delays of 3 to 5 years. And the price. Sources show wholesale lease rates are rocketing up 20% to 35% year over year. Rates for Q2 2025 in Ashburn have already blown past $215 per kilowatt per month. Physical capacity is suddenly very expensive and very scarce.
That surging cost really drives home the physical limits. But hang on, before we wrap up, there's some data suggesting that just because you're the biggest name doesn't automatically mean you have the best hardware, especially for maybe more traditional cloud tasks.
Yeah, that's a really important counterpoint. While the big 3 obviously dominate market share, an independent study by Cloud Mercado found that some smaller providers are actually very competitive on performance and value. They looked at US Signal's OpenCloud, for instance, and it matched, or in some cases even beat, AWS and Azure on standard processing benchmarks like Geekbench 6 and Sysbench CPU.
Okay, so the performance is there, but where did the smaller guys really stand out?
Price to performance, especially for disk-heavy tasks. When they measured IOPS input-output operations per second, crucial for databases, US Signal got a price-performance score of 181.25. That was significantly better than AWS, which came in second at 138.69. So what it suggests is, if your main focus is getting reliable performance efficiently, cost-effectively, maybe not just sheer scale or brand name, these smaller regional players can be a really compelling option. Bigger isn't always better value.
Okay, so let's try and tie this all together. The cloud and AI momentum, it's clearly a massive economic force, and it's not slowing down.
No, if anything, it's accelerating. The hyperscalers, they provide that crucial infrastructure backbone, the scale. But the key takeaway for you listening is that the really outsized profits, the big growth opportunities, especially if you're an investor looking for that leverage, those high margin services, they're being captured by those specialized ecosystem partners, the ones who really nail their strategy and line perfectly with the giants.
That definitely maps out where to look for growth in this absolutely explosive market. Okay, here's a final thought for you to consider. Even as our digital world feels infinitely scalable up in the cloud, thanks to all the software magic, this whole frantic race for AI growth keeps slamming up against hard, real-world finite limits. It always seems to come back to physical power grids, available land, and just the sheer time it takes to build things. And that fundamental scarcity, that physical constraint, that's what's really driving the crazy price jumps and the big strategic shifts we're seeing play out right now, from the cloud software right down to the concrete foundations of the data centers.